A lot of updates to give you, so please be patient this morning, and then you can ask your questions of me or any of our folks here. Obviously, we had a very long night. All things considered, we were fortunate compared to the Big Bend, but we did have a tough night, and they're continuing today. Hurricane Helene affected our city in a lot of different ways, including widespread power outages, down power lines and trees across our city. All things that we told you to expect yesterday. We had some isolated flooding in the areas we expected, San Marco, Riverside, and downtown. That's all pretty much clearing up. So didn't get as much rain as we had first anticipated, so that was actually the good news scenario out of all this. Our gusty winds are continuing to decrease through the day. I'm sure you've noticed they've already diminished quite significantly, and that will continue. But please, pay attention as you're out working in your yard, because the ground is softened and the winds are still gusty, you could still lose some trees. So be careful out there. It's also going to get hot and humid today. So there's going to be a heat index in the upper 90s. So be careful of heat stress while you're out there working as well. Nuisance tidal flooding will be an issue somewhat between 7 and 9 o'clock tonight. So stay out of floodwaters, please, if you're out there driving. I think all of the detour areas for JTA have been resolved, but otherwise, if you see floodwaters, just don't drive through them, please. If you're using a generator at home, we've already had a number of calls about this. Please ensure that it has proper ventilation. You should never, ever use a generator inside. And if you're using it outside, don't have it too close to your house, because that could get carbon monoxide poisoning into your home. So you got to be very careful when you're using those generators, and I know a lot of folks are doing that right now. We have not had any storm-related fatalities. We had initially reported this morning that we had a traffic fatality that we thought was a storm-related fatality, and it turns out in talking to authorities it actually was not. So we don't know of any that are related to that. Closures today. For the safety of our staff and our citizens, we decided to keep the city closed today for everybody beyond essential personnel. Duval County Emergency Operations Center will continue to be fully activated. Our local state of emergency continues in place. So that's going to be important, because we need to keep our shelters open until we get our arms around everything that we have to deal with in terms of public safety and clearing the roads and making sure we're clearing out these trees and everything else, and making sure people have a place to go. We're going to keep that in place. Duval County Public Schools, as you know, are not in session today. Property appraiser, tax collector, clerk of court, supervisor of elections, courthouses in Duval, Nassau, and Clay, except for first appearance, are open. Are they open or are they closed? Phil, are you in here?
First appearance is open.
First appearance is open, everything else is closed. Okay, very good. Okay, Public Defender's Office, State Attorney's Office, Huguenot Park, and Hannah Park are all closed. The Parks Department is assessing damage at the parks, and there is some damage at Memorial Park. There's a pretty significant outage out in my neck of the woods in Atlantic Beach. There was some significant damage to some infrastructure out there, which is going to have to be fixed before we'll get power restored, but that's why Hannah is inoperable. Events. We've had a lot of questions about events that are happening tonight. All are on. Hootie and the Blowfish concert, Home and Patio show, Jack Symphony, all of that is continuing as scheduled. We want to thank very, very heartfelt thanks to our first responders, to the state of Florida for everything that they have done to help us. Also want to thank the White House. We got a call from the White House offering any federal support that we needed throughout this storm. So we've got a lot of folks offering to help us through this situation. Our ERAT teams, our emergency road access teams, have addressed 45 calls so far. There are 99 calls pending, and 31 have been given to Public Works for evaluation. As a reminder, the job our ERAT teams do is they clear roadways and they clear blocked roadways that are blocked by trees and power lines. As of 10 a.m., we're currently 12 roadways that are completely obstructed at the moment, and I have that list for anybody that wants it, but alternate routes are available. I also, again, want to thank our brave first responders who headed off to Cedar Key this morning to support on search and rescue missions. We got a call from the state saying they desperately needed folks to help. They headed out to Cedar Key. The bridge was out. They had to wait on a helicopter transport to take them out there, but they are now out there helping to search for folks that may be trapped in their homes, and obviously a really, really scary and terrible situation down there. They called us at 3 a.m. and our folks here immediately went into action, and they're out there trying to pull people out of harm's way now. We sent 3 ERAT teams and another urban rescue team, and we have public works contractors filling in for them. We're continuing clearing roadways here, so we're not neglecting anything at home because we're sending people out to the Big Bend. JSO has received 175 weather-related calls. Sheriff Waters asked that we remind citizens again, please don't drive through standing water. I've said it before, I'll say it again, always continues to be a problem, but that water is starting to diminish, so hopefully that won't be a problem today, but as you know, depths can be very deceiving and can put you in danger. Also, it can create wakes that go into homes and businesses that impact your neighbors, so just be very careful about that. JEA, my goodness, those folks are working just incredibly hard. They had to pause a little bit overnight because of those really, we had one wind gust up to 80 miles an hour out at Mayport, but we did have winds in the 60s and 70s. They're out there just working their tails off right now, trying to get power on for everybody and trying to do it in a safe way. We're going to ask you, please, please, please be patient, as we said yesterday with those crews. We had at one point more than a quarter of our customers out of power. And they have already restored 140,000 customers right now. There are 85,000 customers still without power at this moment. That number changes every minute. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. But they really are working methodically to restore power. They started out with our shelters, with our hospitals, with our first responders, and then they go along to other high priority areas where there are situations that are difficult. We're continuing to monitor that situation, but our hospitals are now all up and running, and we're working pretty well on those fronts. Again, I talked about Atlantic Beach already. Major power outage there started around 10 o'clock last night. As I said to the group this morning, I'm very, very grateful to Waffle House, which was the only place that was available to get coffee this morning. God bless Waffle House. If they're open, you know we're doing okay here. Water and wastewater, no storm-related water or sewer main breaks that we have to report, and that's great news for us in this storm. Public Works, more heroes in Public Works. 11 crews are out working today. 161 tree tickets are being worked and being prioritized by whether or not they're blocking access. So we will get to everybody, but they're going to be done in priority fashion in terms of where there are blockages or hazards. 155 traffic signal tickets, 50 are still open, so they're working on those. Right-of-way and stormwater teams will not be going out to clean ditches and inlets today. Solid waste pickup is on schedule, and contractors are handling removal of trees from roadways and right-of-ways. If you pay someone to remove your tree debris, that person is required by city ordinance to remove it from your property. Put your yard waste on the curbside. It may be a couple of cycles, though, before we get it all picked up. So don't put out more than the maximum of 5 cubic yards at a time. In other words, just don't overload us. We're doing our very best to get all of it. We'll be getting to it as quickly as we can, but it may not get all picked up in one fell swoop. In terms of our shelters, we had 361 citizens utilizing our shelters. Now there are still 254 folks that are in our 5 shelters right now. They'll continue to be open today for folks who are without power or folks who are medically dependent and don't have electricity. Look, as long as we have these widespread electric outages, we feel like we have to keep, at least at the current numbers, those shelters open. I know that's going to at some point create a complication for our schools. We're working through that as fast as we can, and we'll keep you updated as well as we can on that. The citizens who are medically dependent on electricity, special needs, can call 630-CITY, 630-2489 to set up shelter transportation. Want to brag on them too. 630-CITY's been up 24/7 all night long. The folks over there are just working incredibly hard. They had a really, really heavy duty night and are still continuing to work. Want to list one more time the list of shelters for you. Atlantic Coast High School, Chaffee Trail Elementary, the Legend Center, Landmark Middle, and La Villa School of the Arts. If you're planning to take advantage of a shelter downtown, remember there are 2 locations, Legend Center and La Villa. JTA is continuing to offer shuttles to all of those points. As I think I said earlier, the flood detours, though, have ended. The ferry is pending Coast Guard clearance to get back into service. The Skyway is opening in just a few minutes at 1 p.m. No major damage at any of those facilities. Now, we are going to have 4 cooling buses out this afternoon because as we get into the later hours of the afternoon, it's going to be incredibly humid. Temperatures are going to get up close to 90, and our heat index is going to get up into the upper 90s. And we know that historically during a storm, a lot of times people will get out in their yards, they'll start working, they'll get into distress. We don't want anybody to experience heat distress, and we certainly don't want that for our line crews. So what we're going to have is we're going to have 4 cooling buses that are strategically placed in 4 quadrants of the city based on our EOC reports. So our call data will inform where those buses are going to go, and then we're going to have 1 that is available for our line crews, should our line crews need it, that are out there working 24/7 as the day goes on. JTA will continue to run regular operations on JTA fixed bus route, BRT, First Coast Flyer routes, connection, and ready ride services. All that is normal now. JIA is open. They have had almost 100 flights canceled over the last 2 days, but that's hit or miss depending on your airline. So make sure that you call your airline before you head out to the airport because your flight may or may not be happening. As you know, this was a huge storm that has affected Atlanta in a big way in areas north and west. So make sure that you give a call to your airline before you head out there. As I talked a little bit about 630 City, they had 1,200 calls last night. They processed 50 ERAT team requests, had JSO and JFRD embedded, which was a huge help. And we're looking at adding JEA and JTA reps over there at 630 City, so we can just make sure that we're getting those calls handled quickly without having to make people wait. So we would like to encourage you to continue to use jacksready.com/Helene for more information. Citizens should continue to look to local officials and media outlets, you guys, for reliable information. And for emergencies, of course, as always, call 911, but please reserve the 911 line for emergencies. And that's what I have. So we don't have a weather report today, so any of you that have questions for me or any of our folks here, time to ask them.
Mayor Deegan, and whenever it comes to our line workers, especially those who've been working 24/7, what is that going to look like for them over the course of the weekend?
Well, they're going to be working all weekend long until all the power is back up. So that's why I said, I mean, it's going to be, it is absolutely incredibly long hours for them, for all the folks that are handling the calls, for all the customer service folks. I mean, everybody at JEA is working full throttle, wide open right now. And still, this is, like I said, it's an enormous job. 900 square miles we have to deal with here in Jacksonville. And so it's going to take a while. And I'm urging people, be patient. We have the shelters open. If you're starting to experience heat stress at home or you're concerned about it, please get yourself a ride through JTA or some other source to get to one of those shelters so that you're not in distress.
Is there any kind of a time frame for how long it will take JEA to restore power to all customers?
Well, look, I think we may be looking at the outset of a few days. Hopefully it doesn't take that long, but it could. Because we have some complicated situations. We had a lot of trees go down, and some of those trees took out lines. Some of those trees took out infrastructure that actually feed the system. So that's what happened in Atlantic Beach. But that's a situation all over the city, and we have some situations where we think we know where everything is. At the moment, but there may be situations that we don't know about. So it may come down to, how it always is. There's always a handful of folks that we end up taking a little bit longer to get to because either we don't know because the problem's on their end, but they may not know it, or some other circumstance. But by and large, they're working as fast as they can, David, and I know that they're hoping to get everything done as absolutely quickly as possible. But there may be a handful that take a few days.
In the Atlantic Beach situation, can you talk a little bit about what happened there specifically in terms of the damage?
From what I understand, there was a tree that went down at Dutton Island that took out some equipment, that took out some poles, took out some lines. And there are a number of complicating issues that went along to that. So it was not just a matter of removing the trees and repairing the lines. You had to go call for more equipment, bring new poles in, set the whole thing up. So we're hoping that will be taken care of in the next several hours. But it was a really complicated situation because it was more than just having a tree fall on a line.
You just heard there from Mayor Donna Deegan regarding the city's efforts and cleanup after Helene. Now, this is something that has caused a lot of wind damage. You heard her mention there we didn't receive as much rain as expected, but we knew this was going to be a storm that was going to cause a lot of issues with wind, leading to down trees, down power lines. We were seeing thousands of people at this hour still without power. You heard her mention there that JEA is working tirelessly to restore power, and she's urging folks to please be patient.